Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Primetime Pards. I'm Gary Laubach, once again, the host of our 5th edition of Primetime Pards, and just a few housekeeping affairs for optimal viewing of tonight's show. Changing the speaker view right now is strongly recommended. To ensure the best possible experience for everyone, the microphones of all attendees will be muted. And during the audience Q&A portion of the show, please utilize the raise your hand feature, which can be found by opening participants. And we welcome you again. As we said, it's number 5 of our series, Primetime Pards. We hope you have been with us before, but if not, we hope you will join us once again when in December, we will have another Primetime Pards, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Director of Lafayette Athletics, Sharita Freeman, who will introduce or eventually get to our guest tonight. Here's Sharita.
Thank you, Gary. Much appreciated. Good evening, everyone. And I hope everyone is doing well at home and staying healthy and safe. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to all of our participants this evening and a sincere thank you for joining us tonight. As Gary mentioned, this is our 5th installment of Primetime Pards. They have all been phenomenal, and tonight will no doubt follow that trend, I am sure. I am very excited to hear from our special guest, and Brad, thank you for joining us tonight. But first, to share some words about our Primetime Pard for today, I'd like to welcome our head men's soccer coach in his 17th year as head coach here at Lafayette, Dennis Bond. Take it away, Dennis.
Thanks so much, Sharita. Good evening, everyone. It's my honor to introduce our Primetime Pard speaker tonight, Brad Pursel, class of 1995. Brad is one of our more loyal alums and someone who had a great impact on our program as a player. He was the captain of our 94 championship team, which not only won the tournament championship, but also won the regular season Patriot League championship. Many don't know, but was one of the few teams in our history that was actually ranked in the top 25 in the country. So Brad was a great leader, a great player for us, and now is a loyal supporter and mentor for many of our current players. Brad has hosted our networking nights in New York City at the Major League Soccer offices in the past, and is constantly in contact with myself about how he can help and give advice to our current players. And I can't thank him enough for everything he does for our program. And I can't wait to hear what he has to say tonight about his career path and his experiences in life.
Dennis, thank you very much for that introduction, and it's good to see you. It's been a while since we get a chance to see people from campus because of the COVID situation. It does give me great pleasure to introduce Brad Pursel to you. He's a 1995 graduate of Lafayette who serves as a senior vice president of media and game schedule management for Major League Soccer. Brad was a 4-year starter for the Lafayette men's soccer team, and he served as the team captain during that championship year, his senior year. He was a 2-time Patriot League Player of the Week, earning academic honors as well while playing at Lafayette. He was a member of the 94 championship team and a member of the Leopards tennis team for 2 years. In addition to his MLS duties, he collaborates with the U.S. Soccer Federation, Canadian Soccer Association, and 2 other soccer associations. And for that, I think it's time that we get to meet. Here is Brad Pursel. And Brad, it's good to see you tonight. And Brad, I'm going to start off by saying that you're probably a little bit more relaxed tonight, knowing that the playoffs start tomorrow. So your work to get everything on television and get it out there to the world all begins tomorrow when the playoffs begin. So welcome. And are you relaxed?
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. First of all, thank you, Gary, Sharita, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here. It's kind of you to invite me. So I look forward to chatting with everybody. And yeah, very excited about the MLS playoffs starting tomorrow night. That's our shameless plug for everybody to tune in and watch, spike those ratings, which is good for all of us. But yeah, it's been an interesting year for MLS, but for all of us.
Obviously, it's been a very unique year. Everybody in our area kind of happy about the way the Philadelphia Union has played this year. They're a #1 seed, right?
Yeah, it's great to see that the program has taken a while to get really strong footing. They've got a nice fan following. got a great coach who's a great leader. And, I'm hoping that they can push through the playoffs and hold a championship. I know they've been working really hard at it.
Speaking of working hard, I know the league is looking at expansion. I think by 2022, you're going to go up from 26 to 30 teams.
Yes. Well, so next year we have Austin joining the ranks. So that will be our 27th team. Then Charlotte's going to join the year after. St. Louis and Sacramento are soon to follow. And I think within the next 6 years, we'll get up to 30 to 32 teams, which is remarkable from where I started when we were down to 8 teams at one point. So to go from 8 to 32 in a relatively short period of time is really exciting for the growth of the sport.
It really has, and the growth of MLS has been outstanding. All right, let's talk a little bit about you and Corona at this point. I know you have a full family. Your wife, Gretchen, a 95 graduate of Lafayette. Zoe, 13 years old. Keller, 11 years old. And your 5-year-old dog, Rusty. But with your busy schedule, your wife's busy schedule, how has the virus affected the family?
It's a bit nutty at first, but we've settled into kind of a nice rhythm. I think we both like it. So we both work in the city. So cutting out that commute has saved a lot of time for both of us. And having the kids remote learning half the times, or a hybrid version. So they're in school half the time or half the days of the week and home. It's actually been quite nice. Took us a while to find our rhythm because we are both rather busy and busy at the same times. But our kids, fortunately, are pretty self-sufficient. The dog gives us both a break in the middle of the day to go for a walk here and there. But it hasn't been all bad. There's been a lot of positive, a lot of good family time, and more focused. You're not wasting that 2 hours a day commuting and to the city and that crazy energy of getting to the city, getting back, always on your mind, of like a ticking time bomb all day long, every day.
Well, there is a look at that beautiful family that you have. I know you spent 17 years living in the city, so you're probably quite happy right now that you're in Pelham, New York, and not in New York City.
Oh, especially these times. I know many have been trying to flee the city. We left about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's been terrific having some space, a backyard, and being near really close and have good access to ball fields, which has been terrific.
Gretchen, I know, a biology major at Lafayette, but she works for Tiffany and Company. I assume she's doing most of her work too at home.
Yes, she's she's the Chief Human Resources Officer for Tiffany, which is a major global company. And they've had an interesting ride the last 4 or 5 years, and she's been at the forefront of a lot of it. So she has been rather busy these days. Well,
that's good. And I'm sure you have been busy. But again, like you said, it's nice to be able to spend more time with the family. Let's go back to high school, Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. So not too far away from Lafayette. You attended Bloomsburg High School. Then you went on to Hill School, the prep school. Why the prep year?
Well, I was a year younger throughout high school than my classmates. And as my dad put it, towards the end of my senior year of Bloomsburg High School, he said I needed some academic seasoning. So it allowed me to catch up a year, if you will, mature both as an overall student athlete, if you will. And it was great. The Hill School is a terrific place. Learned how to really study, apply myself in many different areas, but was able to continue to play the sports that I really enjoyed. So for me, it was a great experience.
Well, you used the term student athlete, and you certainly were that at Bloomsburg. 4 years of varsity tennis, a district champion, 4 years varsity starter in basketball, over 1,500 points, and 3 years of varsity soccer, where you were the top goal scorer, you were the assist leader. That's an amazing number of accomplishments in high school. How did you, I would imagine it was hard to walk away from any one of those sports and concentrate on one.
It was. I loved them all. I loved the seasonality of them. I liked doing something for a very concentrated period of time, 3 or 4 months, and then have the ability to shift into something new. But they're complementary of each other. I think all athletes will attest to that. Playing different sports, I think, trains your body and your brain in different ways. The individual sport of tennis teaches you a lot about yourself. It's only you on the court. You have no one else for support or to blame, if you will. And the team sports is just a great dynamic. And growing up in a small town like that, a lot of your friendships are on the fields. So to be able to carry that through in the team sport aspect was great.
So I imagine you loved them all at the time they were in season. So you didn't really have to decide on one or the other until you went to college.
Yeah, that's right.
So you tell me there's a good story and a bad story about Bloomsburg soccer, Bloomsburg High School. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, this is kind of a good coming of age story for soccer in general in this country. So we didn't have varsity soccer at Bloomsburg until my junior year. It was a JV program my sophomore year. Then my junior year with my dad, I believe is on the call, my uncle, who I believe is on the call as well. Folks like that really helped create the youth soccer community. There weren't club teams. There was not a big level soccer, but we had some parents who wanted their kids to play soccer and keep them active. And we ended up having a good group of my age group, my classmates. We had a really strong team. So through a lot of their efforts, we finally got a soccer team. In my senior year, we had a great season. I think we were 13-1-1 or something like that. And we were on our way to hopefully a district champion. And then we were looking on to states. And so the good of that is in a short period of time, we got soccer up and running. We were very excited, had our sights on a championship. And then we learned from, we think another team, our rival team, that they pulled the plug on us. We apparently had one player on our team who had transferred from a prep school and had one too many years of eligibility. And therefore our whole season was wiped out as a result. So we went from riding this big wave of excitement and getting soccer on the map in our town and in our school to kind of a crashing stop, which was unfortunate, but I think it paved the way for that program for the years to come. And it's been really steady and strong over the years.
I understand now why it's a good and bad story. It also sounds like the seed for soccer had been planted much earlier because of the interest of your father.
Yeah, my dad, he's a coach at heart, and other fathers like him in the area really took to soccer. Good community sport, easy to get the kids out onto the fields, and we were able to build a pretty good program in a small little town. And eventually it's grown over the years, and club teams have come in, not just to Bloomsburg, but in the surrounding area. And as Dennis and many others on the call can attest, it's, soccer and the club sport and the community aspect is grown by leaps and bounds.
I can also assume as a district tennis champion and as a 1,500 point scorer in basketball, that there were other colleges that were looking at you to play one of those two sports. Is that correct?
Interesting enough, basketball was the one that I probably got the most attention for. But I wanted to do two things in college, and basketball felt like I would be just doing basketball because it's such a commitment of when it starts in the fall, it can carry through a little farther into the spring. And having the ability to play a fall sport and a spring sport, I wanted to be able to do two things and to them.
So then why Lafayette? I mean, I'm sure you had other offers, other opportunities. You go to the Hill School, obviously, sounds like for academic reasons. What was it about Lafayette that drew you to the campus?
Well, my sister attended Lafayette 4 or 5 years before I did. My brother went to Lehigh. He was two years older than me. So I was really looking at those two schools in general. History, very comfortable there. My parents liked them both. We were looking at Bucknell, which is just down the road from where we grew up, but that felt too close to home. So in the end, selected Lafayette because I felt like it was good for my brother to be at his own school, me to be at my own school. My sister had already graduated, so we weren't overlapping with each other at the same time. And I thought just Lafayette was a great place. I remember visiting Leslie when she was on campus and just thinking it was a beautiful campus. She was involved in the athletic programs. She was a cheerleader for the football teams and the basketball team. So I got to go to some of those sporting events, and I just thought it was a kind of a magical place. And then when I visited on my college tours, you get one of those picturesque days on campus, and just fell in love with it. And the hills at Lehigh were just too much as well.
I think though there's a Lehigh connection, because I think you have a shirt on it. I think we should try to show it if we can. First of all, it's a Lafayette shirt, but then on the back.
I don't know if you can see that.
Not everyone can get into Lehigh. Well, that I don't know. That's not a good message. But it's the family rubbing it in, right?
Yeah, my not just my immediate siblings went to my sister Lafayette, brother Lehigh. My cousin Jeff, who I believe is on the call, and his daughter is now at the Lafayette women's soccer team. She is a sophomore this year. So he went to Lehigh Graduate School. This shirt came from my nephew Jack, who's my sister's oldest. He recently graduated undergraduate, then did his graduate degree at Lehigh. So this was his punk gift to me.
Well, there's been a lot of Lafayette influence then in the entire family, obviously.
Yeah, it's a good school. It's a great culture, and we'll see if there's more to come from the families in that direction. Your
major, American Studies and Spanish. It's kind of an odd combination. What brought that about?
Well, like many, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be in athletics of some sort. That was before any of these sports management type programs existed in most schools. And the American Studies, I think it was maybe brand new at the time that I was going through. And I liked English classes, I liked history classes, and I was able to combine the two of those into that major. And as a minor in Spanish, which obviously does not seem to go very well with that, I wanted to continue to learn a language. I wanted the experience of going abroad. My sister went abroad when she was at Lafayette. She went to France, and she just had an amazing experience. I wanted to have a similar experience. So I did a semester in Madrid my junior year, and got a Spanish minor as a result. So that major, I guess, allowed me some flexibility to take classes that I liked, and the Spanish part was kind of a love on the side, if you will.
You make it sound like a great combination, actually. All those experiences. I know, though, the trip to Madrid cost you the rest of your tennis career, because you were playing tennis at Lafayette. But then the trip was during the tennis season, right, as a junior?
Yeah, that was a difficult decision to make, because I knew if I went abroad that year, I was probably not going to come back and play my senior year just after playing 4 years of soccer and then a semester abroad. So that was a difficult decision, but I knew my tennis career was not going to go beyond Lafayette, and the experience of a semester abroad was something I just couldn't pass up.
Isn't it amazing how you make choices in life and you look back and thank goodness you made those choices, especially with your soccer position now. Obviously, as we look at your experiences at Lafayette, how did you handle the student athlete part of it? How about the academics?
I think the student athlete part is what actually helped me the most. I'm always somebody who is constantly on the go, and I need those things to keep me busy. If I have empty space, I kind of go a little bit nuts and I'm not sure what to do with myself. So being busy with the athletic side, after school, on the weekends with games and practices, helped me budget and manage my time much better. And as a result, I think I could be more focused, be more efficient, and more effective ultimately in the way I perform.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Having played basketball and baseball in college, the only times I did poorly in the classroom was when I didn't have anything in the fall. You're right. You budget everything.
Too much time.
You have too much time. You've got to get things done when you can get them done. So the tennis is over. You're on the soccer team under Coach Jeff Gettler. He was only at Lafayette for 4 years. You were there for all 4 of them.
Yeah, I was the only player to match up with Coach Gettler for 4 years. It was a fun ride.
Tell us a little bit about him, because I know he's gone on to other soccer head coach jobs and has done quite well.
Yeah, from Lafayette, he went on to Richmond, and he had a nice run at Richmond. But he was a great influence on me at Lafayette, on the program at Lafayette. He came from UMass, and where it was another Division I program where he had some success. And I think he just brought a new level of tenacity, recruitment, knowledge of the sport to College Hill. And he was great for me. There were a lot of things that I learned from him. I learned from my teammates, and I have a lot of respect for Coach Gettler.
What kind of coach was he? Was he a tough, hard nose, or was he a little bit of both?
He was tough. He was very X's and O's. Sometimes we tease him. He was a little bit too much X's and O's, but he was, he knew the game really well, knows the game really well. And he was a good motivator. He brought the team together in good fashion. And we ended up capping his career and my career with a really great run. I think at one point we were as high as 10th in the country my senior year.
Amazing.
And, it was a magical run.
And speaking of Coach Gettler, the assistant coach there, Nelson Rodriguez, then went on to coach Lafayette, and he's now in the MLS organization, right?
Yeah, so Nelson was the assistant coach my junior and senior year with Coach Gettler. When I graduated, Nelson, he became the head coach. They had I think a terrific few seasons under his leadership there. And then he came on to work at MLS. We worked together at MLS headquarters for a number of years. And I think 3 years ago, he took a job, and now he's the president of our Chicago Fire team. So he's running the whole show there, doing a great job. Wow,
that's a great tribute to Nelson, and obviously to the Lafayette program. Let's talk about your years as a soccer player. You had some spectacular wins. In fact, somebody texted me this week, and they want to know what your best victory was at Lafayette, and you had a few of them, so I'm sure it was not an easy choice.
Well, the wins over Lehigh are always special. The Patriot League Championship, obviously a very special win my senior year to cap that off. But I think what really got us going my senior year is we played, I think it may have been our 4th or 5th game of the season. We played at Princeton. Princeton was a nationally ranked team. Bob Bradley, who that name's probably familiar to many of you. He's the national team U.S. national team coach for a number of years, MLS coach for a number of years, coached abroad. He was the coach at Princeton at the time. They had some really talented top players, and we pulled an upset victory there with a 3-2 win. And that set us on a path of, boosted our confidence, brought us together as a team, and we went on a really great run that year. So that's the most memorable. It was an exhausting game, but it was really fun.
You won the first Patriot League Lafayette championship in soccer. And I'm sure that's a proud moment for you. And I'm sure the guys probably get together every now and then. I know when I see soccer graduates from Lafayette, they tend to be able to party pretty well. So I have a feeling that you guys do get together once in a while.
We do. And the sad part is we think we can have that same kind of stamina that we used to many years ago, but we all, we peter out much quicker.
I have a note here from Kevin McKernan. I'm sure you know him. He says hello, and he's proud to be, which was the slogan of the fraternity. How has competing at a high-level Division I program advance to the NCAA tournament help you to navigate your career professionally? So getting yourself, I'll preface it a little bit, getting yourself into the NCAA tournament play-in game. He's wondering how that helped you prepare for your future occupation.
Well, I think just competing in general in athletics at a high level puts you in that mindset of everything that you do, you want to do your best in, and you want to compete, whether it's you're competing against the next person fighting for a job or fighting for advancement within your own company, whatever it may be, just having that competitive spark and attitude, but also knowing how to be a team player and working with others. I think that background that athletics provides, I think is just a great background for individuals to have. And that game itself was a heartbreaker. We went and played at Robert Morris. We lost 1-0 late in the game. We had control of most of the game, and then you have such a great season, and you feel like you're going to get that win and actually get into the full tournament. And we lost a heartbreaker late in the game, and then all of a sudden your career, it's all over. So that was bittersweet, obviously.
But even though those kind of lessons teach you a lot about life too. It's not
Absolutely.
Always going to be a victory.
Absolutely.
You met your wife. I assume you met your wife on the Lafayette campus since you both graduated in the same year. How'd you meet?
We met senior year. Well, actually, this is funny. We had our very first meal together as freshmen in orientation, they have the different orientation functions. And we went out with a group for pizza, I believe at Marici's. I don't know if it's still called Marici's.
It was still there. It's no longer there now.
That's too bad. But we were in there with a group of, I don't know, there might have been 10 or 12 of us seated around a table. I was very quiet. She was very quiet. Everybody else was very chatty. And we both walked away from that meal thinking, well, I don't want to hang out with any of those people ever again. So it was just a dynamic, and we both felt the same way. And then we really never crossed paths much until senior year, when we bumped into each other in the classroom and some other parties and events, and hit it off.
Speaking of parties and events, Kevin also said, please describe the energy on campus your senior year when you were in the NCAA tournament. Metzger was electric. Lafayette is in the process of climbing the hill on campus, and we're hoping to recreate that atmosphere very soon. Tell us a little bit about that atmosphere. I assume the college very excited about your first Patriot League title and then going into the NCAAs.
Well, they were. It would have been much. Unfortunately, it was a road game for us. The year after I graduated, the next 2 seasons, they made some runs into the tournament, and where they hosted some games at Lafayette. And I went back for those games to support the team, support close friends and teammates. And, the fans turned out. The students came out from the hill out to Metzger, and the atmosphere was great. It was electric. That's the kind of excitement that you're hoping for when you're a student athlete, and to have that kind of support and then the team responding to it, it was great.
I assume you can kind of feel what everybody's feeling now. This would have been Lafayette Lehigh week, and that's not going to happen. And I assume you get a sense of the disappointment that all of us are feeling.
Yeah, that's been a good tradition in our family, obviously, with the history of the number of us going to both schools. So it's a bummer. I think it's one of those events that people mark on their calendars as a student or as an alum. And for that to be another big event that passes us by in this pandemic year, it's a shame, but I know it'll bounce back. We'll all bounce back, hopefully sooner than later here.
All right, you graduate. And I know before you graduate, you probably want to have a good time before you get into the professional world. So you told me there's something about a Cape Cod summer of 95. I remember a movie once, Summer of Something, but what's your summer of 95 look like?
Well, you mentioned that some of the soccer guys like to get together and have some fun. Well, before I joined the workforce out of college, I wanted to have, a good summer of fun. So 6 of us from the team lived up in Falmouth and Cape Cod, and we had these really low-level, tough landscaping jobs for country clubs and golf courses. And so the work was hard, but it was hilarious because it was just beer money. And then we just had a blast throughout the summer, but we all played on a soccer team out there too in the Cape Cod Summer League. So we had fun. We made some money and played a little soccer. So it was a great way to finish off before I had to get a real job, if you will.
I guess I should mention that when I asked Brad a little earlier what his greatest victory was, he wanted to know whether I meant soccer or beer pong. So I guess you were pretty good at both.
Yeah, well, we had a beer pong table in the yard.
NYU to get your master's degree, was that while you were working?
It was. I decided to get the degree thinking that it was something, an extra credential, an extra level of education that I might want to have or need one day. So I did it in my late 20s, night school, while I was still working full time, which presented some challenges, but I powered through. And I've always in the back of my mind had this thought, maybe I want to get into college athletics someday, athletic department, similar to what some of you folks work in. And I know that credential is an important thing to have, and I wanted to be prepared in case that opportunity arose or I wanted to make a shift. So it was a good thing for me to have a credential, extra piece of education, made some good networking contacts. So by and large, it was a good experience.
It also sounds to me like you must have had a lot of professional and academic support from your parents.
Yeah, parents have been great straight through, always supportive, always helpful, always in my corner, both emotionally, financially. Of course, there was a major help. So yeah, terrific to have parents like that, and I'm just trying to pay it forward with my kids.
Before we get to your professional life, and we're going to get to that in a moment, I know your wife celebrated her 30th birthday, and it was kind of a special night in the city. Oh, I think Brad's having a little trouble with his picture has frozen on us. So we hope that it gets back here very quickly. I can tell you a few things. Our next guest will be David Bednar. That will take place on December 10th. Brad's back.
Yeah, sorry, we got frozen there for a moment.
That's okay. What I was saying at the time was I know you had a special birthday celebration for your wife in the city, her 30th birthday. And I think there's a story there, a comedy club you attended.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. For my wife's 30th birthday, she obviously was friends with a lot of people. I was friends at Lafayette, and we got some of the soccer gang back together. Had a 30th birthday party, and we finished up by going to the Gotham Comedy Club in downtown Manhattan. And the comedian was up there doing his skit. We had a table right next to the comedian, which is always dangerous, right? Because you're right. And then he looked at our table and he started looking at us. He goes, "Well, that table makes me want to puke. Bunch of preppy college kids, you know, the typical thing." So he was ready to go off on a whole skit and just rip us apart. And then he asked, "Where'd you guys go to school?" And then we said Lafayette College. And then he turned out to have played soccer under Coach Gettler at UMass. So he went off on a whole skit about his years under Jeff Gettler, had our table roaring. But then he looked around about 5 minutes later and nobody else in the audience was laughing. All these inside jokes. So, but to us, it was hilarious. It was just one of those very funny moments where we were about to get torched and then it turned into this really funny banter back and forth. But the rest of the place was like, what the hell is going on?
So it's like you rented the room for yourselves and nobody knew it.
It was a funny night.
I'm sure your wife enjoyed it.
Yes, it was a funny night.
All right, let's put you to work now. You graduate from Lafayette, you have your master's degree, you want to get into professional soccer, and you start at the bottom, I guess. The A-League is probably the lowest you can go. What did you do there? What did you learn there? And what motivates you to get out of there?
Well, sure. Actually, at the time, the A-League, Major League Soccer didn't exist at that point because this was in 1996. 1995 was when I joined the A-League. Major League Soccer started in 1996, after the World Cup here in 1994. So at the time, the A-League, or American Professional Soccer League, was the top outdoor professional league. It was, I believe, dubbed as second division, but it was the best that we had in this country at the time and in Canada. Richard Groff, who was an alum, I believe he's on the call. He was terrific. When I got to meet him as a player at Lafayette, he's always been very supportive of the Lafayette soccer program, and he's a huge pioneer in the soccer space at the amateur level, youth level, professional level. And at the time, he was the commissioner of the A-League. And I was fortunate enough to have a good connection with him. He offered me a job out of school after my summer of fun on the Cape. And so I worked in the front office. It was just 4 or 5 of us. We did a little bit of everything together. Richard was a great leader and an instructor and, big influence in my professional career and life. And then he helped me as Major League Soccer came to fruition. He helped me make the shift from the minor league to the major leagues, if you will. And he continued to stay in soccer for a long time. But I was fortunate. I was right place, right time. The Lafayette network worked in my favor tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I made that shift to Major League Soccer at a very entry level position, as the league grew, and we had a lot of ups and downs over the years, but once we got on strong footing, a new leader, a new commissioner, and new ownership groups, it's been a nice trajectory over the last, I'd say, 10 to 15 years.
Where does the North American Soccer League fit into that picture? I had some experience with them. In fact, I was in Philadelphia to do a Philadelphia Adams game the night Pele signed his contract, which was a huge historical moment then. Where does that fit into the development of eventually getting to MSL?
Well, the North American Soccer League obviously had wide popularity for a decade or so. I believe it folded in the early 70s, or I can't remember, maybe early. And I think the big issue with them, they had a different financial structure with the league, with the owners, and certain teams like the Cosmos, who had a big fan following and a great brand. No one else could keep up with them, and everybody was trying to spend to keep up. And eventually they, went out of business, ran out of money. Not enough teams could be on that same level. And then soccer disappeared. Professional soccer at that level disappeared for a while. But leagues like the American Professional Soccer League and guys like Richard Groff, who kept that dream alive and the sport going, eventually led to the World Cup coming back coming the first time in 1994, which set all kinds of records for a World Cup as far as attendance goes, revenues goes, sponsorship, TV ratings at the time. TV ratings obviously have gone up since then, but it is still a record-setting event that took place here in 94. And that was the catalyst for Major League Soccer coming on board and continuing to grow.
You have to be proud of the fact that this is the 25th year of MLS, and proud of the fact that you have now been with them for 24 years. So obviously it has been stabilized. It's become a worldwide sport, maybe greater than any sport in the world. Talk a little bit about your personal growth and your involvement in the league and the league growth itself.
Sure. Well, I started in an operations position my first few years, and it was actually a really cool position for a young kid. I ended up being in charge of spring training, our all-star game, and our championship game, and working closely with our teams and our venues. So it was a lot of responsibility to start off that way, but that led to other areas of the business that I got involved in, which was the broadcasting side. So I then worked on our broadcasting group for a number of years, which led somebody needed to take control of the schedule and our broadcast schedule. And I stepped forward to take that torch. Nobody wanted to do it. I regret sometimes taking it on, as anybody in college athletics will certainly attest. The scheduling part is it's just a beat down job, but it's such an integral part of what we do. So I was able to grow from operations to broadcasting into schedule management. And I also started a division within our company. It was at the time called club services or team services, which is similar to what the NBA had in their team business operations. And we led a group internally that were internal business consultants working with our teams to help them with their business operations, generate revenue, primarily in ticket sales and sponsorship. So we grew that division, and that division still exists today. As the league has grown and added teams and increased our TV contracts, the importance on the media side has been elevated. And that's really our next big opportunity, is what our next TV and media deals will be. So I've been able to concentrate now specifically on the media side and our game schedule management, with the competitive side and the commercial side blended together to try to continue to take MLS to the next level. But the league and the sport has grown by leaps and bounds, especially over the last decade. And for many, it was a question, is it going to stay? But there's no question it's going to stay. The level of investment, not just from our ownership group, but with the number of stadiums that we've built. So we'll have 19 soccer-specific stadiums built, and about 4 more are on the horizon. As we talked about, we're going to expand to 30 to 32 teams. Our TV ratings and our footprint just continues to grow domestically and internationally. So all the markers are there. Obviously, this pandemic COVID year has put the brakes on not just our business, but sports and entertainment and other commercial businesses as well. But we're going to keep at it, get back to it, and we're feeling bullish about 2021 if we can, get the ball rolling again.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the highlights of your career. The 2001 All-Star Game in San Jose. What was special about that?
Well, like most leagues, we have an All-Star Game that's mid-year, and we usually have it in a destination. This year with that. In 2001, it was going to be in San Jose. I felt like I needed the sales and marketing experience on my resume because I hadn't had that yet. So I raised my hand and said, send me out there. I'll go gladly. I'll go out for 4 months, 5 months, boots on the ground. I'll be in charge of, filling up the stands and marketing the game. There was a side agenda because at the time, Tom Neal, who we've talked about earlier, he was a senior when I was a freshman. He happened to be the GM of the team at the time. So I knew I had a close friend out there, a close ally. I knew we were going to work hard. We were going to have some fun. There was another gentleman, Chris Shamides, who was a teammate of Tom's and a teammate of mine when I was a freshman. And he was out there as well, came on to work with Tom and that team. So we worked hard, we played hard, and we were successful with the event. So that was a good milestone event for me.
Speaking of milestones, I'm sure your first World Cup as a kind of an administrator of your league, 2006 in Germany.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to go in a work capacity, decided that I didn't want to do that. I would rather go with my college soccer buddies and my brother and a cousin, and actually a couple tennis pals from Lafayette went as well. And I was fortunate enough through my work relationships to get a hold of tickets for us. And we just went as fans, and we set up alone. We went to 5 different games. Every other day we went to a game. The days that we did not physically go to a game, we went to downtown and sat with all these international soccer fans and drank a bunch of beer, had a great time. So it was fun that my job gave me the opportunity to do that on that level with a good core group of Lafayette friends and family. So that was just another kind of career meets life milestone.
Yeah, we always look at our Super Bowl as the greatest spectacle in sports, but worldwide, there's nothing like the World Cup.
Nothing like it. It's going to be amazing when it's here in 2026.
Speaking of that, the Women's World Cup in 2015, you were a part of that too.
Yeah, so Major League Soccer, we also, is the company I work for, Soccer United Marketing is our sister company. It's the commercial arm of our business. So US Soccer is a close partner of ours. We represent their sponsorship rights, their commercial television rights. So that moment when the women had won that World Cup, and for the first time that a women's team was going to get that New York City Parade of Champions ticker tape parade, and we were part of helping set it up. But it was just an amazing thing to be a part of. I got to ride in the parade on one of the vehicles, but to see the women, the soccer in general, the women at the top, and that's that monumental victory on the field, but the monumental victory of them performing, being invited to do that parade in the city, just to be part of that all coming together, that was just a magical experience. Incredible.
The women actually, I would think, have grown the sport almost as much as the men have.
Absolutely. Their success on the field is unparalleled in the world at the national team level. And a number of our owners who own MLS teams now own women's professional teams operating in our buildings. So, we're bullish that league can grow as well and become a viable business and really stick as a sport like Major League Soccer has in the landscape.
Speaking of your venues, Josh Azer asks, who has the best MLS stadium or who will have the best one when some of the new teams come on board?
Oh, wow. It's because each new stadium that comes on board outdoes the one before slightly. Our newest stadium is in downtown LA, where LAFC plays, right in the heart of downtown, right next to USC's big stadium. It's phenomenal. The energy, the level of detail, the investment is just incredible. But we have new stadiums coming on board. Austin, Texas is going to open up as a brand new expansion team, and they're going to have a state-of-the-art, very green, friendly, or eco-friendly stadium. I can't wait to see that one. We've got a new one in downtown Columbus being built, brand new one in Cincinnati being built. But if I had to pick a favorite, I really like Philadelphia's Union Stadium. I think that's where the stadium itself, I think, just has a nice kind of old school feel. I like where it's tucked in right next to the river and the bridge. It's not in downtown Philly, it's in Chester, so it's nearby. but I love that facility. And Red Bull Arena, which is just outside of Newark, 20-minute metro ride from the city. That's a phenomenal stadium. It feels like a European stadium that was just plunked right down next to Newark, and it's phenomenal.
Do you attend a lot of the games?
Not as many as I used to. I used to be constantly going to games, constantly on the road in my earlier part. But as we've expanded and added more staff and different areas of our business, I still try to get out to, a handful of games every year in different venues, because part of my job is seeing what the atmosphere is like, what the broadcast capabilities are from some of these venues, because we want to put our best games, our best atmosphere on national TV. So staying close to the game experience is definitely part of my purview.
Your buddy Richard Groff asked this question, and I don't know if there's a motive behind it or not, but do you have any desire to work in the management of an MLS team and not necessarily in the front office?
Well, I'm hoping Richard buys a team and then hires me.
What position would you like to be in as a part of a team?
Well, it's interesting. I've had some opportunities, and it's been in the back of my mind and been something that I've considered and think that one day I might want to do. I think it would be amazing to be at the helm of especially a new team, if it was an expansion team in an area that our family would want to go to. But I think starting from scratch, building a team, building a facility, building the culture, I think it would be just an amazing undertaking. And I think it's a much safer undertaking if you want to be cautious these days. Just the solid footing that MLS is on these days. For those who are coming into the league and didn't have to endure a lot of the bumps and bruises along the way, they're stepping into opportunities of new expansion teams who are killing it out of the gate and doesn't have the same kind of blood, sweat, and tears from the early years. So to be able to have that kind of reward at the team side one day, I think would be very, very rewarding and very cool. So it could be on the horizon.
It's on the, yeah, I get a sense that, yeah, you can go wherever you eventually decide to go. From Max Ippolito, current men's soccer junior at Lafayette, which new MLS team do you think has the most potential to succeed when they first start playing?
Wow, that's you never know. I think you never know what's going to make a team successful from the beginning. I'll take Atlanta, for example. Atlanta's a newer team in MLS. I believe they're in their third or fourth year. We didn't think Atlanta was going to be a good market, and we kept Atlanta out of the league probably for 20 years. And Arthur Blank, who I'm sure many of you know, Home Depot owner, founder, he was after it. And he said, we're going to put a team in Atlanta and we're going to do it right. And we're going to do it at the level similar to the Falcons, because he owns the Falcons as well. Mm-hmm. We're going to make that investment. We're going to make our fans know that this is high level. And they were incredible out of the gates. One of the top teams, most fun teams to watch on the field. They won a championship last year. They struggled a little bit this year on the field. But those ingredients of an owner who's invested, not just in investing in players, but in the culture, in the facilities, in the coach. So if you have and that bleeds into the market and the buy-in from the fans and the community, you can get those ingredients and you can catch some lightning in a bottle. You can come out of the gates really strong. So I think Austin is going to be a great fan experience. They're going to have a great following. In less than 24 hours, they sold 48,000 season tickets for a 20,000 seat venue. So
wow,
they have that's a very good problem to have.
Yes, it is.
So whether they can perform on the field or not, we'll see, but I'm hopeful.
We've got a question, somebody we can actually see, and let them ask the question. Jim Benjamin is with us, and Jim, go ahead with your question. Perhaps he didn't unmute. There he is.
Sorry. Thank you, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, good to see you. Following on your last comment, a shameless plug for anybody who wants to see the United play here in Atlanta. I was very skeptical. I put my $50 down like 3 years in advance, and they created an amazing atmosphere. It's the best ticket in town, hands down. Braves, Falcons. It is the most coveted ticket, especially for folks, I'm going to say under 40, but just in general. My question for you is, and I know you're not so much aligned academically anymore as you are athletically, but is Lehigh University an accredited university?
I don't think so. I'm not even sure they're still in the Patriot League.
Good to see you. Thanks so much for all you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our nightly plan. We have another one from Justin Johnson. What was it like paving the way for the return of professional sports with the MLS is Back tournament? How did you deal with the FC Dallas removal? And had you prepared for a situation like that?
Well, it was very trying times and very difficult, but we felt we had an opportunity to use our resources and pull together as a sport and make a statement. So we were fortunate that we moved the fastest. We took a little bit of measured risk, if you will, to be the first to come out. It wasn't our initial goal to be the first out originally, because we wanted to make sure, like all leagues, that we're going to do something that's safe for our players, our coaches, and the technical staff that are going to be working in that environment. We had to have the right venue, the right partners, both from a medical side and a hosting perspective. So Disney World, obviously, with everything that they're just great at, they're being ESPN and their family. Mm-hmm. That was the place to go. And I think it really helped us put us on the map. You know, we were the first professional sports league back. Our viewership was up significantly during that time period. People were hungry to watch something. Now, admittedly, the quality wasn't great. You didn't have the fan atmosphere and the fan energy, which is really one of the hallmarks of our Major League Soccer brand and what sucks people in, as Jim even mentioned, down in Atlanta. But it was a big investment, and we wanted to get our players back on the field. We wanted to fulfill our TV obligations with ESPN, Fox, and Univision, which we met, and we were able to deliver the sponsorship value that we needed to at the national level. And working with our teams, we introduced virtual technology and allowing our teams to get a lot of their local sponsors involved. So it was a huge undertaking, but in the end, it was well worth the investment. We did have two teams actually, FC Dallas and our team in Nashville, who contracted the virus upon arrival, or it was discovered upon arrival. They didn't get to play a game in the MLS's Back tournament. We kept a close eye on them, kept them isolated, and decided after 2 or 3 days of testing and the virus spreading within their team, we just sent them home, and we'll deal with them separately. But we didn't want that to disrupt the rest of the tournament, which went off. You know, we got every game in other than, that hiccup. We got every game in, and we finished with a great championship match. And that tournament also allowed us to buy some time to figure out what are we going to do after that, so we can get back into our venues, try to get some fans if we could. It was limited, as you've seen across the sports leagues. But it was a tremendous success by all accounts, and a very expensive one, but something that we needed to do.
So we're all pulling for a vaccine to make things normal, certainly by 2021. Brad, I want to thank you so much for taking time in probably the most exciting part of your season. Obviously, very successful in what you're doing. And certainly we wish you and your family the very best, and stay healthy. And thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Gary. And again, thank you, Sharita and Dennis. Nice of many of you to spend Thursday evening with us. So thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
All right, I do have a few announcements before we let everybody go. Our next Primetime Pards will feature Dave Bednar, class of 17, who's currently pitching in the San Diego Padres organization. That will be on Thursday night, December 10th at 8 o'clock. Obviously, you can register. I'm sure the link is up there on your screen right now. Also, because Lafayette Lehigh is not being played this week, we are going to have a rewatch on the Lafayette Sports Network Game of the Week of the 150th Lafayette Lehigh game at Yankee Stadium this Saturday, November 21st at 7 o'clock. You can again go to the goleopards.com/feature, and that will take you to the Lafayette Lehigh football game this Saturday. Lafayette is also celebrating 50 years of co-education. Women were admitted to Lafayette in all programs at the college on June 27th, 1969. There's a great feature right now on the lafayette.edu. You can find that, celebrating 50 years of co-ed education. It's also Bring the Roar time, normally held the week of Lafayette Lehigh. Well, they're going to hold it. It kicked off on Monday. We still are calling it Rivalry Week. It will go right up until the halftime of the Yankee Stadium rewatch. So please get in, please donate. Let's win the Bring the War Rivalry Week setup again. November 23rd, the program is entitled Don't Shut Up and Play, A History of Black Athletic Activism in the United States. That's presented by the Lafayette Men's Soccer Lead Council. That's Monday, November 23rd at 7 o'clock. And again, the link is up there, I believe, for you to join that on November 23rd. Don't Shut Up and Play, A History of Black Athletic Activism in the United States. I want to wish all of you a very happy Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for joining us tonight for Primetime Pards. And once again, the invitation is there for you to join us again on December 10th. My thanks to Brad. My thanks to all of you. I'm Gary Laubach. Good night, everybody.